Caroline Bergvall performed a piece with accompaniment called Via. Later, she published it in Chain magazine, but really it existed for a while as a performance. Fortunately, we have a recording of it, which is now available on our Caroline Bergvall 10-sound page, Via. So what is Via? Dave, what is it? How did she make this?
She took the first line out of Dante's Inferno.
The first three, the tercet.
The first three. From 40-some different translations, and just read them stoically one after the other, just reading how the different interpretations sounded one after the other.
Molly, what does the reading sound like?
It's very even-keeled. It's very, sort of each translation is equal, very smooth.
Same voice for each. Anything else about the sound of it, Emily?
Oh, it's sort of solemn and somber. It's exactly the voice you should read the Inferno.
Anybody else? So far, solemn, somber, straight, but it strikes me as haunting. Anybody vote for haunting? Anna?
I go for haunting.
Tell us.
Well, what's haunting to me about it is like kind of my experience of hearing it, is that the first couple of translations you hear, you're kind of trying to pick out exactly what the differences are. You think about like, oh, this is this translation from this year, and oh, this one's 96, that one's 1897, but gradually all that starts to kind of go away.
It's not in chronological order.
And
Why
you just
not?
kind of, I don't know, I don't think it would make sense for it to be in chronological order.
It's an alphabetical order.
Alphabetical order according to
I think the first word.
first word, whether it's a preposition or an article or not. So she organizes it alphabetically, so that suppresses the chronology of the translations and the editors. Why suppress it?
Because that way that you don't make one preferenced over the other.
Say
It's not
more.
like-
This is very interesting.
This isn't like...
It's almost a scholarly thing, Max. What's interesting about keeping it from going in the order of the translations as they were made?
You're not tempted to detect some sort of progress or the translation getting better over time.
Indeed. This is not a history of the progress of translators getting better and better at translating the, in the area of translation, Dante is hard, but he's not the hardest. But still, given that, it's an infinite variety of possibilities. What does that create in you? When you hear, let me put it this way, when you hear this thing, this 10-minute recording, this completely alluring recording, do you think of sameness or difference?
Can you think of both?
Both. Tell us about sameness and then difference.
Well, I'm not sure a lot of us have that much experience of sitting somewhere for 10 minutes and having reiteration of the same idea, I said again and again and again. But it's Stein, right? And repetition shows difference. Every repetition is a difference.
Difference is spreading. Yeah. Allie, talk about difference.
I mean, you have kind of the same basic words that crop up midways in almost all of them, but you start to notice when there are deviations from the norm.
Or what is the norm?
Or what norm, right?
Right, yeah,
We don't even know where we are in the norm.
Think about all the different ways we have in English to say the phrase dark wood. Like how many different ways can you translate that or say that?
Let's talk about translation in general. What is translation? This is an existential question almost. Max, what's translation?
In a basic sense, it's taking something written in one language and finding the corresponding language, the corresponding words in your own language.
And why can't it be done once and for all authoritatively and perfectly?
Because there's no one-to-one correspondence between words across languages.
Oh, so it's a kind of exophonic version of the old story of English to English or English to thing, right? So we have a word mug, thump, it gets to mug. But now we've got a word in one language trying to correlate directly with a word in another, and there's that same success in circuit lies. The success of a translation is finding a way that people think, wow, that's really getting close, but not there. So translation, now let's be very theoretical about translation. Anybody want to give it a try, Amaris?
Well, what about it, though?
What, in the largest theoretical sense, what does translation have to do with discourse? Have to do with anything?
Well, I guess the point would not be then to create some sort of semantic accuracy between modes. One would not be superior. You would blow out the idea of the original text and then the subgenre translated text. There's no inferior text. They're both legitimate in their own ways.
So good. Now someone related to our course.
Well, and also you can't actually translate, you can never actually translate words because, at least one or so much of the word is the word itself. As object, as, visual image, and you can't, that word in that language is always just going to be that word in that language.
Good, we're getting somewhere. What in our course makes you think of this? Let's not say that any one translation is authoritative. Let's have Seamus Heaney and Henry Wadsworth Longfellow and Dorothy Sayers sit alongside, unchronologically, a bunch of forgotten Victorians and Edwardians who've done their translations. And let's say again and again the translation of this one line. We haven't gotten very far into Dante's Inferno here. We are at the edge of hell. We're just standing there at the edge, and we haven't gotten anywhere because we keep trying, we stumble over the right way to... What in our course makes you...
Well, it makes me think of authorship as one kind of thorny problem because, Dante is the original writer, but then you have all these translations. You have, Tennyson's translation. You have Robert Pinsky's translation.
So many poets in our course,
who gets
it suppresses the tendency, the old-fashioned pre-modern tendency to say, oh, that's the author and that's where authority resides. This is a very, very subtle way of spreading authority across all versions. So we've seen that in our course. What else makes you think of this?
I was just going to say, it reminds me of a more, a very differently toned Portrait of a Lady by Williams.
Let's try to get it right. No, let's try it this way. No, I remember likening her this way. Similes work. No, similes don't work. You can't do this. Keep trying. No, I won't. Which shore? I don't know. Yeah, so it's a different toned version of the same. And it's very much, when we were talking about Stein, we were talking about Hemingway. That cubistic, multi-perspectival fracturing, I'm going to try it from this angle. No, the nude descends here. No, down, we'll get there. No, it's just everything happening all at once. Trying it from every different angle. And that's representing the process by which we understand meaning. I'm going to read you a line from Brian Reed's terrific short essay about this work. And you tell me what it means or how does it help you. The world is always joined in media res, in the middle of things. The divinely ordained right way forward has been lost, but it will always remain so, and ever has been. What do you do with that? Dave?
Brings me to the concept that when we read something, we think that's the way to say it. When we read a translation, we just assume that this is the one way to say
Seamus Heaney
this.
has done the translation.
This is what it means.
It's been done. Been there, done that.
Exactly
Right?
what it means. Yeah,
Right.
I think Portrait of a Lady is a great example because there is no one way to say it,
Okay.
even in the original text.
So in media res, with respect to the poets that we've been studying, starting in the middle, anything? Does this ring a bell at all?
Projecting narrative, the sort
Myth,
of trinity of
beginnings,
beginning.
middles, and ends?
But also, it's interesting because it rejects narrative, but at the same time, people are always born into a tradition. And you have to, the same way that both modernism and postmodernism kind of refers back or is some reaction to what has come before, or maybe premeditation of what is to come. When you're born in the middle of things, you have to take into account the context that you're in order to be the best.
That's why the title, I think, is so perfect. Via, not only because it's got that kind of pun of being a word that we use in English and a word that's in Italian.
Yes.
In Italian or even Latin, it means road or
Yes.
way.
Yes.
And then
Go ahead.
In
You're on the
English-
verge of something here.
English, it means kind of by means of.
So via is, as Armentrout would put it, the way. And the way is the preposition, the glue, the syntax, the thing that holds the language together, the how, not the what. Via is the how. So I'm going to ask you a question that I asked in chapter 4, way back when we dealt with County Cullen and Claude McKay. But I'm going to ask you about this poem. Does the choice of the form of the poem enhance or detract from the message? I think I know your answer, but I want to hear why. Does the form of Caroline Bergvall's 10-minute performance that turned into a poem printed, does that form enhance or detract from the message? Emily?
Absolutely, right? She's talking, the line is "the right way forward is lost." The poem is lost in a sense. It's not moving forward, and it shouldn't move forward, maybe, for those reasons.
Cool. I'm getting the goosebumps. I really am. Anybody else want to talk? I mean, I sort of stopped the show by saying that. Now, how are you going to follow that? As we go along in this work and Dante's, getting nowhere, we realize that we are lost in the dark wood of meaning, that we have lost our way, that there is no right way, that we can try it 45 different ways, and we're still stuck trying to get started in media res along the journey of our life. Halfway, I found myself again in a dark wood and not knowing where the straight road is. And along that journey, I found myself again in a dark wood. Where am I? Where are we? What does it mean? Where are we going? What is this hell, this language, this meaning? Such an eerie and beautiful feeling. Beautiful, eerie and beautiful feeling. I think this is why she reads it this way. Of being lost, right? But of finding the way. You haven't found the way in the sense of the path, right? But you found the importance of the way. This is just a completely remarkable expression of that. So, whereas once we asked, some of us said, yes, it enhances. The form enhances, the sonnet enhances what McKay is trying to do, and some said detracts. There isn't anyone alive who would say that this form isn't commensurate with the point that's being made about translation, or about Dante for that matter.